Let me repeat it. Our intention of this discussion or today's session is just to give you a broad idea on how exempted services operate. Let me repeat. How someone should be reading exempted services. That is our core intention relating to this discussion. Why? Because many times this alone cannot be treated in face value. For all said and done, this is a presentation, and a lot more insights are required here. Sometimes the suppliers goods and the goods that is listed here will have a small difference. With that difference, the position might change. In any case, how someone should know about these exemptions? When it comes to exemptions, there are two prominent exemption notification. One is notification 2 of 2017 central tax rate for goods is concerned. Let me repeat. For goods is concerned. For goods, 2 of 2017 central tax rate. Same as the notification number when it comes to your integrate taxes also. But all that I want all of us to appreciate here is about 178 goods are getting exempted. In fact, as of now, the number would have been little more, would have been increased. But just want you to highlight here about 178 different types of goods are going to be exempted from GST. Now, we will not read all that 178 and all, just cherry picked about 60 or so service, goods, and 50 or so about services, 50, 60 services, roughly. Now, only those discussions we are going to make over here. Now, coming back here, getting into this discussions more specifically relating to on your what is it on exempted goods. Yes. Assessee would be dealing in a product. We would not be sure whether that fellow is engaged in a taxable supply or that fellow is engaged in a exempted supply. How that position can be taken by us. Often we will have a doubt relating to that. The position relating to whether it is taxable or exempted is often decided based on the exemption notification. If something is covered by the exemption notification, then it will be out from the tax net. If it is not covered by the exemption notification, no doubt it would be leviable to tax. Having said all this, Section 11 of CGST Act and Section 6 of IGST Act comes out and gives powers to central government that all those goods or services as per the recommendation of GST Council would be exempted from levy of GST. One advantage is these goods pan India is going to be exempted from levy of GST. We have selected a few goods. Those goods alone we are going to discuss. To start with, any kind of live animal. When it comes to live animal, let me repeat. It could be any of those animals. It could be your bovine animal, very popularly called as cow, or it is going to be your ox, or it is going to be any kind of animal, ducks, or it is going to be your gunia fowl, or it is going to be all the animal. In the animal, you have to remember only one thing. But for race horses, okay, all those animals, I have consciously, if you see, I would have skipped serial number 6. You see now the top heading 5, 2, 1 is missing, 3 is missing, 4 is missing. Okay, now idea here is very simple. All these animals, live animals, when it is sold, so there is a possibility somebody can sell a elephant from one person to another. Somebody can sell a pet dog. Somebody can sell a bull mastiff. Somebody can sell a particular kind of a cat or parrot or whatever be it. Any kind of animal, live animal, when it is sold. Your broiler chicken, live, when it is being sold. Now, if it is sold, then it would be exempted from levy of GST. Complete discussion on animals. So, only one product which would be taxable is going to be horses, but for horses, everything is going to be out from the tax net. Followed by, in case of all those animals, meat, it can be fresh it can be chilled. So I'm sure it is fresh and chilled. So as long as any bovine animal meat, or once the entry goes, you will know that any animals, all goods, fresh or chilled. Let me repeat: fresh or chilled of swine, sheep, horses, edible offal, or edible offal of a poultry, or it is going to be other meats, pig fat free, whatever be it. I'm not elaborating on it. All this either fresh or chilled. Do we have any conditions for this? If you're going to refer, all goods other than fresh or chilled, those put up in a unit container and bearing a registered brand name. Very, very dangerous aspect. Wherever, and this discussion that we are going to make on this serial number 9 is going to be continued for every discussion on goods. Whenever you put it in a unit container and fix a brand name, ordinary chicken sold by a butcher is exempted. Ordinary chilled chicken sold by a butcher exempted. However, if you come up with a brand name, let's say Suguna chicken, okay, or some other, we have varieties of fellows who is on trade now. Now, those fellows who put it in a unit container, come up with a brand name, that brand name is registered, it is not exempted. Again, brand name is unregistered also, but he alone has the right to use in case if he has. Some of the brand names are all unregistered brand name, but for the last 60, 70 years, only one company is using that. A classic example for us could be India Gate. India Gate is an example where India Gate never went and approached a trademark authority at all, never got his brand registered at all. But India Gate was known by only one company, and that company alone over the last 60, 70 years using that brand. Will that would be considered as brand? Yes, in today's environment, whether your brand is registered or brand is unregistered, we are not bothered about it. If you have a enforceable right as per the court of law, that is, if it is your name that you alone have the right to use it, then it would be treated as a branded goods. If it is a branded chicken, branded meat, then it would be not eligible for the exemption. So brand name can be registered brand name. Brand names can be unregistered brand name. In unregistered brand name, unless and otherwise an authority, unless and otherwise a supplier goes before the commissioner and say, I relinquish my right on the brand name. Unless and otherwise, other than, look at this word, other than those where any actionable claim or enforceable right in respect of such brand name has been foregone voluntarily. Anybody can use by name. If you say, then only it is what? Unbranded item. Let me repeat it. This word brand has so much value to it. So, normal chicken, sir, we put only RRS, sir. You put RRS, you put Suguna, you put registered, you put unregistered. Do you have, you alone can use that name. If your right is with you, then I am sorry, then it becomes a brand name. Coming back here, having decided about the brand name, moving forward on this, after animals, getting into the next segment of that animals, all those we would call it as, it could be your what is it, lobster, crab, aquatic invertebrates, or it is going to be your crab. If it is either live, fresh, or chilled, whatever be it, all are going to get exempted from levy of GST as usual, other than in brand name. If it comes with a brand name, handy water base, crab, no, taxable. Exemption is not eligible. It is going to be somebody who from the Besanagar beach came, catched a few crabs, and he sell those crab to the people. Then it is going to be exempted. It does not come with a brand name or associated with it. Milk, all type of milk is going to get exempted except ultra high temperature UTH treated milk. Except UTH milk, all other milk, Now here, this is what is interesting. Brand name other than brand name, all are exempted. You put Arokya milk and cell exempted, Avin milk and cell exempted, without brand cell exempted. So hope you could able to understand the difference. For just appreciating this fact alone, we are getting into some more examples of these kind. Coming back here, same in the case of curd or lassi, branded, unbranded, both are going to be. See, sometimes that product will get exempted. Sometimes product with the condition will get exempted. Here product gets exempted. Now come to cheese and paneer. China and paneer. Now, China and paneer, if it is put in a brand name, then taxable. If it is unbranded cheese, cottage cheese, exempted, not liable to tax. To the contrary, Milky Mist paneer, taxable. So this is how the whole discussion is going to go relating to exempted goods, all this stuff and associated aspects. Now, coming back here, eggs. All those eggs are going to be exempted from levy of GST. All these eggs that are going to be eggs in shell, fresh, preserved, or cooked, whatever form it might be, it's going to be exempted from levy of GST. Natural honey, again, honey put in a brand name, then it becomes taxable. Honey unbranded honey is going to get exempt. So branded honey or unbranded honey, how we are going to distinguish it? We have to check the client. If he deals with a branded honey, then yes. So actually that company is doing, it's a small time company. That company name is, what is it? C. Sundaresar and C. Sundaresar and company. So because of that, they put CSC. CSC, is it a brand name, sir? Yes. Outside the, what is it, outside your honey, if you put that brand, yes, it becomes a branded honey. So now what I have to do, you have to go to your jurisdictional officer, jurisdictional commissioner, say I am selling honey, honey will contain this name, and I don't mind anybody using this name. Even someone use also, I will not sue him under the court of law, which means there is no brand. You are relinquish your right on the brand, so it will be out from the tax. Human hair is going to get exempted, whether it is washed or not washed, as the case may be. All those meals, teeth, nail picks, okay, pulipallu, singa, okay, whatever be it, all are exempted. All those semen is going to be exempted from levy of GST, followed by flowers, trees, bouquets are all going to get exempted from GST. Potato, fresh potato. Let me repeat. Potato, fresh potato. Honey and all is not an Ayurvedic product. No. You have to give a declaration to the jurisdictional commissioner, Vinayak, if you want to relinquish your brand. Common for everything. You have to go and file a letter before manufacturing the product or before starting selling the product. Before start selling the product, you have to go and give a declaration. Then only it will not be treated as a branded good. So because the moment if it is a branded goods, then you will be liable to pay necessary tax associated with the product. Coming back here, potato, tomato, or it is going to be onions. If you carefully note, everything is fresh here. All leguminous vegetable, other vegetables, you see all vegetables when it is sold, all are going to get exempted from GST. The modern days, what happens is vegetables are cooked, then sometimes it is cut, sometimes it is boiled, and then it is frozen, and then it is sold. So you have a specific exemption which came subsequently, and certain process of cooking. So except this sulfurification, except this process, if it is done, then yes, the vegetables are going to be exempted from tax. Followed by dried vegetable. All those dried vegetables, when it is going to be dried and then powdered or broken or then it is sold, then yes, again, dried vegetable is a concept that has been used in some of those edible preparations or ready to cook preparations. So for that it is being used. Followed by all those dried leguminous vegetables. But again, be here very clear. other than those put in unit container and bearing a registered brand name or other than registered brand name. So point here is, if a dried or leguminous vegetables that are all going to be sold without a brand name, then it is exempted. If a brand name, small container, all that it comes, then it is taxable. Coconut, all those shell peeled coconut are going to get exempted from tax. Bananas are exempted, dry fruit, fig, guava. See, again, it's only a selected entries I'm sharing to you, all kind of citrus based fruit. It could be your orange, or it is going to be all those citrus, lemon, whatever citrus fruit we have, all those citrus fruit, grapes, apple, apricots, or it is going to be few other fruit like chiku, sapota, or kiwi, or it is going to be blackberries, blueberries, gooseberries, all this, or all whatever those or we have this, what to say, black currant or red currant. Okay, some of those particular items which are all sold will get exempted. Tamarind, dried tamarind. Let me repeat very clear. Peel of the citrus fruit. So sometimes these peeled alone will be sold to cosmetic industry by the food processing unit. There is a food processing unit. From the fruit, he will extract the pulp by cutting the fruit like this. It's all automated, and the peel he will not throw away. What he will do, peel, he'll convert into a powder and sell sometime. Peel, sometime he'll sell it as such. So peel as such, if he sell, then it becomes exempted. Now we had a client who will convert the peel into a powder. What he will do is he will heat it at a particular high temperature. So it become dried. Once it dried, he will powder it and he will sell peel powder as a citrus fruit to various cosmetic companies. Then it will be taxable. Seed quality. You can always remember any product of seed quality. Any product of seed quality, whenever seed quality comes, it's going to be exempted from levy of taxes. Followed by unprocessed green leaves or tea leaf. All those green leaves or tea leaves is going to get exempted from tax. And followed by all those coriander leaf, cumin leaf, or it is going to be carve, various leaves type we have. All those leaves that are all sold, it is exempted. The problem is, if a particular item is not exempted, then it would be taxable. We have to go search item and fit it. Fresh ginger, which is being sold by organizations or anybody other than processed form, it is not a ginger paste. Ginger paste and all will be taxable. This is ginger. Again, here you have another challenge. Fresh turmeric is exempted. I am sorry, but for Pongal, Shankaranti, we don't use fresh turmeric at all. Always it is processed turmeric. This turmeric is plucked and into one particular processing it goes. A curing will happen. It comes only on the month of January as such. That is exempted. So a processed turmeric will be taxable. So these are all the minor points that need to be taken care in relation to it. Somebody who is going to sell wheat, mescaline, yes, it is going to be exempted. However, if the same wheat comes in a brand name, okay, this particular rice, that particular rice, this particular wheat, that particular wheat, whenever brand comes into place or a actionable claim, somebody holds on a brand, then yes, it would be taxable. Same in the case of rape. Sunflower leaf, betel leaf are going to be exempted. Jaggery is going to be exempted. Kansari sugar is going to be exempted. So all those cane jaggery or other type of jaggeries are all going to get exempted. Puffed rice, puri, muri, commonly known as, all this is going to be exempted. But points here, sunflower seed for this thing, seed quality. Sometimes somebody consume it, but that consumption will come only in the, what is it, packed unit container. Brand name will be there. Sunflower seed is a diet which is being followed. For oil manufacturing, it is taxable. Seed quality, sunflower seed quality for sowing the, what is it, for sowing in the purposes. If you're going to buy it for oil manufacturing, then it would be taxable. Again, see, these are all, Vinayakam sir, it requires a lot more interpretation. We have to see through it and then we have to decide. Followed by puffed rice, yes, it is going to be exempted. Papad is going to get exempted. Bread other than pizza bread is going to get exempted. All type of prasadams are going to get exempted. Water other than aerated water, distilled water, ionic water, battery water, rarely understand. Then what water is exempted? But those are all the aspects. Almost all area bottled waters are all taxable. When we go back, rarely we will get an exemption which has been out. Intention there is there. Tender coconut, tender coconut is exempted, but same tender coconut if comes with a brand name, then it would be taxable. If it is put it in a unit container, today many companies come that in the tender coconut itself around they tag the brand. Sometimes they refill it into a different pocket, add some little preservatives for the storing purposes, and then they sell it. Yes, it would be taxable. Aquatic feed. Now, very interesting to note, all those aquatic feed, including your shrimp feed, poultry feed, cattle feed, all feed quality. Let me repeat, including rice bran for feed quality. See, rice bran can be used for two purposes. I can use it for feed quality. I can also use it for extracting that rice bran oil. If it is for rice bran oil, then taxable. If it is for feed quality, then it becomes exempt. So rice bran, wheat bran, which is nothing but some of us who could not able to follow what is rice bran, wheat bran, all those, what is it, extracts when they take away the things. So coming back here, post all those shrimp, in the case of shrimp feed, we had a problem. Shrimp feed is exempted. We had a client who's into this, what is it, aquaculture. This aquaculture fellow will make prawns, and in the prawns he will identify the shrimps. There will be some shrimps, the skin, the head part, the unedible offal. Okay, not edible offal, unedible offal. All that will be segregated separately. And what he will do is he will dry it, make a powder, and sell it. That powder is mixed to make a aquatic feed. Now, whether it is exempted or taxable, we went. What is exempted is only, very interesting to note, shrimp feed. This is a powder used in making a shrimp feed. So to that extent, we have to be very clear when it comes to the exemption. And then when we go, we can able to decide whether exemption is eligible or exemption is not eligible. See, many times what people is, shrimp feed exempted. But actually that fellow whether does shrimp feed or not. 3 years later, if an officer, in fact for that client it has happened like this, 1.5 years later, the officer came out and for which they came back to us, then we referred and we gave an opinion. That opinion turned out to be, they originally said, no, we won't agree to the opinion. We said, okay, you agree, you don't agree, that's yours. But this is what is our opinion. Very interesting though, 3 months later, authority of advance ruling from Karnataka came, which was in line with the opinion. Why I want to highlight is somewhere it has to be more meticulously concentrated on certain aspects associated with it. Coming back here, electrical energy, any kind of electrical energy is going to get exempted. Similarly, blood and its blood components. Sometimes blood components will be sold from one organization to another organization. Rarely it will happen. They sell that platelets, that counts, those plate. Mainly they will sell platelets. From the blood, they will remove platelets and then they will sell platelets. Blood components are going to get exempted from levy of tax, even if it is done with sale of honey. Kungumam, sindoor, all those kajal are going to get exempted. A very interesting exemption. We all know Kungumam is going to get exempted. One of our clients is into this business of Kungumam. He's a big time dealer, does about 650 crores on Kungumam alone. One of the questions raised by them is, Mr. Ganesh, we also make Kunkumam not only in red in color, we also make Kunkumam in orange, yellow, green, white, blue, all Navagraha color, 9 color, we make Kunkumam. Is it taxable or exempted? A question came. I pose to you the same question. Kunkumam, it has to be only in red in color or it can be in any color? Understand the question, understand the issue that is involved in it. So those are the issues that comes up to us. So coming back here, A very tough question. When we go back, we have to go back to the ancient records. How in an ancient way, kumkumam was originally prepared. What was the ingredients that were used? Today, you might use a different ingredient. Today, it is completely mechanized process. 15 years before what it used to be. So everything is going to be discussed. So coming back here, so all those kumkumam, kajal, all this is going to be are going to be exempted from tax. Packed kajal means I don't understand. Packed kajal means Vinayagam sir. What do you mean by packed kajal? Okay, iTex packed kajal. We have to have a small test on that. Okay, then we can able to give our views. As of now, I differ. We have to check it. It would be taxable. Now, any case, coming back here again with brand, without brand, all this also criterions will come. Plastic bangles or firewood or fuel wood, wood charcoal, all are going to get exempt. Deities that are made on wood, deities that are made on marbles, that are going to get exempted. All those plate, cup, brack, which has been flowers, leaves made of brack is going to get exempted. Sale of judicial, non-judicial papers are exempted. Sale of envelope is exempted. Rupee note is exempted. Duty credit script. This we would have come across by many of our clients where they will export goods to foreign country or services to foreign country as part of the foreign trade policy, as part of certain benefits which are eligible if you are exporting goods or exporting services. At that time, the government will give us a DEPB script or some benefit script, duty credit benefit script. If they sell that duty credit benefit script, then by selling that they'll get some money that would get exempted. Raw silk is going to get exempted. Silk waste is going to get exempted. Wool, which is not carded or combed. Very specific. Carding is a process. Combing is a process. I'm sure a lot of us are aware. Which is not carded and combed. If it is a carded wood, then taxable. If it is a combed wool, then it will be taxable. It is neither combed, neither, then it is raw wool. Wool waste is going to get exempted. Khadi yarn, khadi fabric. Generally, khadi will be out of your tax net. Kuri, again, when it sorry, not kuri, coir. When it comes to coir fabric with a brand name, preferably when it comes to that coir pit. When it comes to coir pit, when it comes to the brand name, then it becomes taxable. Otherwise, it is going to get exempted from levy of GST. National flag is going to get exempted. Human hair worked, human hair not worked. Both, both is going to get exempted. Followed by um, points for our discussion on this is earthen pot. So all those earthen pots is going to get exempted. Coming back here, after all those idols, preferably made of clay, is going to get exempted. In fact, this is an insertion that they made in 2018. Originally, it was not exempted. After that, the government came out and gave exemption. Glass bangles, again, when it comes to these glass bangles, all those made out of precious metals would be taxable. This is general regular glass bangles. Spacecraft vehicles and parts which are used in spacecraft, so both are going to be exempted. If you carefully note, 8802 is spacecraft, HSN. Here, next entry with parts that are used in 8801, which is going to be a spacecraft launch vehicle. So our discussion here can be followed by hearing aids is hearing aid, not aids. Hearing aid is going to get exempted from levy of tax. Parts of hearing aid is exempted. Manually made musical instruments are exempted. Followed by all those what is it? Brooms, brushes containing, which are all made for temple purposes, are going to be exempted. At a very later stage, sanitary pad got its exemption. The complete sanitary pads are going to be exempted from tax. all those Rudraksha, this, that, Upanayanam, or it is going to be Kangatirtha, Prasadam, Vibhuti. Vibhuti got its exemption very late. If you carefully note, you will have Vibhuti only here. Originally, we had the exemption for Kunkumam. Kunkumam came immediately. In fact, Vibhuti, they brought it very late, only during 25/1/2018. Now, why I want to highlight here is this exemption has a legacy to speak. When I had an opportunity to interact with one of the joint commissioner of Tamil Nadu Commercial Tax Department, where he was also the chief guest of that particular session, he was explaining me, and we have been having, sir, how is GST Council, what changes we are expecting, all that. Ganesh, for Vibhuti, you came and made a representation because the client who was doing for Kungumam, for him, we went and represented Vibhuti because of the reason it was already exempted. You don't give something new, but don't take away what I was enjoying all along. So, point here was we went and asked, we went and we made an application for it, and which was pursued, taken up at a later stage at the council level. When they went up to the council level, this gentleman was part of the fitment committee. He stands before it. Suddenly, he want to pull the attention of the entire crowd. So, GST Council's fitment committee feels that Shakti is exempted and Shiva is taxable. The whole crowd turned up. Now, why you are saying like that? No, you are exempting Kunkumam, then why Vibhuti should not be exempted? Same day we got the exemption. See, sometimes how you put forth things are also important in a council. We had nice joint commissioner who understand the issue, who can able to articulate it well. In any case, these are all some specific exemptions that we have. All those Arthar, all those whatever, which is what is it? Raksha Bandhan, all these items are going to get exempted from tax. Points for our further discussion is a few questions have came up. These are all the list of exemption I have just shared. Let me repeat it. Honestly, I'll share you. This is just to give you an idea how it would be. At one go, no one can be a master in exempted services. We can't remember all 178 entries and come out and say, actually, in turn, we have in total 1,600 entries, different goods liable at different rate of tax. It's a clear study that has to be done. Suresh ji has raised a question. What about dried pepper? If it can be sold only after drying it. Suresh ji, I doubt it should be taxable. In any case, a little detailed discussion is required. You confirmed one view, it's unbranded, but again, I think I have never come across till today a specific exemption for pepper. We have to wait and watch. We have to do a specific discussion on this. We can take it up this sometime later. Vinayagam sir has raised a question. Cine makeup done by hairdress. I don't understand that, sir. Cine makeup done by hairdress means is the makeup man is doing makeover services, or are they selling hairdress alone? Painting brush you asked. I don't understand what is painting brush. I mean, if you think a regular painting brush, then it would be taxable. Please explain the exemption for unregistered goods. Unregistered goods means, Rohit, I don't understand. What is that unregistered goods? What is this unregistered goods? There is, certain goods will come with the caption that if it is a branded goods, then this exemption does not apply. Rohit, you have to read through that entry. What I have given you a glimpse of it. You have to read through that entry. If that entry says, for example, we will take one of the entry. Then only you will be able to appreciate. Now see. Now, coir pith can be two ways. One, you can procure a coir pith from an unregistered fellow. Unregistered brand fellow, not unregistered fellow. Unregistered brand fellow. He makes coir pith and sells to you. Then it becomes exempted. Okay. To the contrary, what you can do is you can also buy the coir pith from a registered person. If you buy the coir pith from a registered person, then a person whose brand is registered or who has a proprietary on his brand, then at that time it becomes taxable. So it has to be read from one after the other entries. Vinayagam sir, later at you can post to us. I was waiting for you. Cine makeup done. I don't understand. It's a service. I don't know why you are putting it in terms of the goods associated. Quickly getting into some of those exemptions relating to goods, services. As far as services exemption is concerned, again it is covered by a different notification. Notification 12 of 2017, central tax rate, discuss about CGST and SGST being an intrastate supply gets exempted. Similarly, we have 9 of 2017, which comes out and exempts in case of interstate supply. So exemptions are going to be different. When it comes to exemptions relating to your services, we have about 125 on intrastate supply, 132, some more extra when it comes to IGST exemption associated with it. Hair wig, if you are asking, hair wig will fall under that human hair worked there. But you will put and do a makeover service and all, then it becomes taxable. See, you simply sell wig, then exempted. That is good, sir. No, I will put him, I will ask him to sit, I will do one foundation and then I will do a makeover. Then it becomes a service, it would be taxable. So that is the difference that I want to make here. In any case, coming back here, getting into all those charitable activities which are all done is going to get exempted from tax. That charitable activity should be provided by a 12AA. Charitable activity means what? Anything, something to do with religion. It could be a religious discourse, spirituality, yoga, or teaching orphan children, or differently abled children, autism child, or a prisoner, teaching some extra skills to prisoners. Or it is going to be spreading awareness of public health and HIV/AIDS about all these diseases. Then those activities are called as charitable activity. If a charitable organization engage in this activity, then it would be exempted from GST. Otherwise, it would be taxable. If a charitable organization does something else, they don't do all this. They they rent a immovable property. Okay. Then you have an exemption. Up to that limit, it will get exempted. Beyond that, it would be taxable. Followed by transfer of a going concern. If an organization as such it is sold, one organization is going to be sold as such, then yes, it would be exempted from tax. As an organization is going to be sold as such, it would be not leviable to GST. You can think of a takeover. You can think of a slum sale by a company. You can think of succession in business. You can think of mergers and acquisition. When organization go, then yes, it would be exempted. Whether it has ATG or not is exempted. No. ATG and all has no link, Karthikeyan ji. Very clear. You should be a registered person under 12AA. That's all. You have ATG, you don't have ATG is not a criterion. That ATG is something to do with donee based exemption. Okay. Not for the organization. What is for the organization is 12AA. Coming back here, entry number 3 would come out and say all those pure services. Let me repeat. Pure services provided to central government, state government, local authority, or government entity. So somebody is going to provide a pure service to government, and that activity is also interested, or those activities are interested or in relation to municipality or corporation, then it will get exempted. A company is providing services of renting of ambulance to Corporation of Chennai. One company is involved in clearing all those waste in that municipality. One company is taking care of the what is a street lighting, daily morning off and night on, that work. Any services, pure services, which should not contain material, pure services provided to central government, state government, local authority or government authority. Okay. Somebody's work is going to be laying roads. But the problem with the laying road contract is your laying road contract will go with material. If it goes with material, then it is not a pure service. If you carefully note, pure service they would have defined. Pure service excludes works contract. Road, putting a road is a works contract or a composite supply of goods. I should do a plain service. I go and do a repair and maintenance activity of a government organization where in turn that service is used for functions entrusted to municipality. Take a case of Metro Water Board. Metro Water Board engages a lorry. That lorry does a pure service of what? Transporting the water of Metro Water Board from one location to another location. Where Metro Water Board has to go and deliver, there it will go and deliver and come. Yes, exempted from levy of GST. Government audit exempted, sir. Government audit, Siva Prakasam, sir, we have to study closely that government audit, in what way it is related to functions, and at your leisure you read, we have given what are all the functions entrusted to municipality or corporation. Okay, some 9 items we have given. In that it will not come. Because it does not come, it will be taxable. So that is how it goes. So what is any functions entrusted to municipality or corporation, that is already here. So that is going to get exempt. Okay. Coming back here. In case you do a survey, you do a work composite supply of goods, but that contain material less than 25%. So somebody is providing services this time to say state government, central government, local authority, union territory, but the services that they provide includes material, but the value of material does not exceed 25% of the total cost. That is to say, a 10 crore rupee contract is given for installing CCTV throughout the city. On this 10 crore, the cost of material is 2 crores only. Let's assume. Actually, it is not like that. It's ulta. 8 crore is the cost of material and 2 crore is the labor. That transaction is leviable to GST. I'm just giving you for an example, ulta example. 2 crores is the cost of material. Rest all is only service, assume. Then on this contract, the value of material is less than 25%. So it is a service provided by a private party to local authority. So it would be exempted from levy of GST. So that is how it has to be understood. Any services provided by your municipality or corporation are going to be exempted. Municipality collects money from people. Similarly, corporation also collects money from people. All those municipality, panchayat, they collect money. That money collected by them is exempted from levy of GST because they maintain all those road, water, sewage, or for all purposes they do, which is going to get exempted. Services by government. All services by government. This we would have read when we discussed reverse charge itself. All services by government will get exempted except the identified few services. Services provided by Department of Post, that is Speed Post, Express Parcel Cargo, Insurance Agency Services, Life Insurance Services and Agency Services. These 4 services alone by a postal department is taxable. Rest all is not taxable. So those are the entries. Similarly, all those services which are relating to an aircraft or vessel, which is done in the presence of the port or airport, port services, major airport, port owned by government only, which are all government related services, but again taxable. Because you have a word called as excluding. In an exemption entry, if you say excluding, which means it is taxable. You are saying these are all transactions non-taxable. In that non-taxable, if you exclude something, it becomes taxable. Again, transportation of goods or passengers. Any service, look at the wording, other than 1, 2, 3, provided to a business entity. Why? The business entity will pay tax under reverse charge. Cross read this too. So any services provided, for example, you suddenly have a threat on your life. Okay, wish and pray should not happen. In case if it happens, assume if you suddenly have a threat for your life, then um, 1 minute. If suddenly you are going to have a threat in your life, then you're going to say that this will be protected, or the services has to be sorry, some service, the policeman should protect you here, there should be one what to say, one person outside your house to protect you, all that and all that is okay, but something very important for us is it is a service provided by government to not to business entity other than business entity, so exempted. Service provided by government to business entity, reverse charge would be applicable. Similarly, any service provided by one government to another government. Tamil Nadu government provides some services to Andhra Pradesh government, exempted. Chennai Corporation provides some services to Coimbatore Corporation, exempted. Coimbatore Corporation provides some services to one Erode municipality, exempted. Chennai Corporation provides services to Ambattur municipality, exempted. Central government to state government services, exempted, because many times for many officers this that many expenses or money are all exchanged, any services between them are going to be exempted from levy of GST. Followed by all those money received by a government entity by way of grant as a consideration will get exempted. See, many government organizations get grants. Preferably government entities always run on grant. For example, Bharatiyar University will get a grant for a particular purpose. Okay. Now you go back and check who's Bharatiyar University means, it's again owned by state government. It's coming under the complete control of the state government now. But it is a separate entity, separate thing, separate process is there. It's an artificial judicial person. Is it a government entity? Yes, because 90% of the control is with the government. So any services, we have something called as Indian Institute of Economics. Again, it's in the Indian government owned society, Indian government owned society. It gets a 150 crore grant for what? Do a economic research on a particular matter. At that time, you should not say what you got 150 crores from government. You are asking, sorry, government has asked you to do a particular work. When government asks you to do a particular work, and for which if they pay you, then it is nothing but a grant. It has to be leviable to tax. All that standpoints are all applicable. But end of the day, you have a very specific exemption which would exempt you from levy of tax. Construction of a, sorry, before that, one more word. Pure labor contract of construction of a residential unit, which means it should be a pure labor contract. Labor contract of constructing a house is going to be exempted from tax. Labor contract of constructing a house is going to be exempted from tax. So if it is going to, sir, I am a contractor, I am responsible for both material and labor, sir. Sorry, taxable. Very simple, taxable. Sir, I am only responsible for labor. That too what? Construction of one house, not what? One flat and all. One house means one house. Sir, how I will know one house, sir? One kitchen. As per the approved plan, there should be only one kitchen. If a house has two kitchen, then it is not a residential unit. A residential unit. Okay. So coming back here, which is otherwise not a residential complex. Again, that word is all defined. In case if it is going to be a single residential unit, pure labor contract will get exempted. Renting of an immovable property used for the purpose of residence. Let me repeat, it should be used for the purpose of residence. Then only it is exempted. If it is going to be used as office of a child accountant, office of a cost accountant, office of an advocate, office of an architect, very comfortably it will be taxable. If it is a house which is used for the purpose of residence, then it will be exempted from levy of GST. Any religious trust, where any money is collected by a person for conduct of any religious ceremony. This prayer meeting, that prayer meeting, this special prayer meeting, this alankaram, that alankaram. Temples, religious trust collects money for various religious related ceremonies. All money collected for those purposes are all exempted from GST. Similarly, in some of the charitable organizations, they may have rooms and they may rent that room. If the rental charges is less than 1,000, exempted. Less than 1,000. Some church, some mosque, some temples will have halls, and they will rent the hall and they will collect a rupee less than 10,000 rupees per day, then exempted. Outside the church, outside the temple, outside the mosque, there will be small shop which belongs to the temple, which is again a religious trust. Then up to 10,000 rupees per month, it will be exempted. If even 1 rupee less than, everything is less than. So your number is a previous number cut off. 999, 9,999. If the moment it reaches 10,000 itself, it will be taxable. So as long as it is less than this number, it's going to be exempted. Anybody renting a residential lodging purposes, okay, let me repeat, lodges, residential lodging purposes, a unit consideration per day is going to be rupees 1,000. So everyone is going to give it as a clubhouse, guest house, campsite. Per day, it is going to be less than 1,000 rupees. Yes, it is going to get exempted from levy of GST. Followed by any person who is going to be involved in transporting passengers in a non-AC contract carriage. Okay, these words stage carriage and non-AC contract carriage, just for your information, which we call it as bus. Okay, AC bus, non-AC bus. Okay. Again, what is the difference between a contract carriage and a stage carriage? Stage carriage is a bus that will stop in many stages and go. Contract carriage is a carriage, it is not going to stop. State bus, Chennai to Madurai, Madurai to Dindigul, so something buses. If it is a non-AC bus, then it is exempted. If it is a AC bus, taxable. Stage carriage also. Non-AC bus exempted, AC bus taxable. Sir, what will happen to Mahanagar Transport Corporation? Mahanagar Transportation also exempted. Sir, Mahanagar sorry, not Mahanagar. SETC runs bus, AC bus from Chennai to Pondicherry, sir. Taxable. Simple, taxable. So point that I want to drive home is in case of non-AC contract carriage. Sir, our trip is not the contract carriage permit trip, sir. This is a private trip. College tour, we are giving bus. Sabrimala trip, we are giving bus. Or for marriage party is taking a bus. Or some political party taking a bus. All are taxable. Let me repeat, all are taxable. Though it is a non-AC bus also. Other than radio taxi, transport of passengers, excluding tourism, conductor, charter, hire. Transportation of passengers, as far as transportation of passengers is concerned, transportation of passengers by railway other than first class or AC class, metro rail, monorail, or inland waterways, or a public transport where it is based on vessel, or it is going to be metered cabs or auto rickshaws. Okay, all auto rickshaw metered cabs. Metered cabs will not include Ola, Uber. Ola, Ubers are all called as radio taxis. Those are all taxable. Metered cabs is state government based running meter cabs. We have yellow black taxi in Tamil Nadu. You have various taxis. State run meter. If the state run meter, then it is going to be exempted. So if it is going to be railway, second class, economy class exempted, second seater exempted, second sleeper exempted, unreserved exempted, two fellows target. Air conditioner coach taxable, and first class ticket taxable. But for it, monorail, metro rail and all is again. One more logic I will share you, but you should not share to anyone. Okay, only for you all. How to remember all this, sir? Less than 1,000 rupees, you will never get a AC room. Correct? Minimum AC room means more than 1,000. So if it is a AC room, then it is taxable. Non-AC room exempt. Okay. Then AC bus, taxable. AC stage carriage bus, again taxable. Non-AC bus, exempted. Okay, but for exceptional discussion. In aircraft, there is no non-AC aircraft, so all are taxable. Again, railway, AC bus, AC coach, taxable. Here only people ask me, sir, metro rail fully AC only? No, sir. Correct. Metro rail full AC, but metro rail is an exception. You cannot do anything about it. Okay, meter, cab, auto rickshaw, and all big way AC would not be there. So idea of the government is to tax AC. Beyond that, nothing. Okay. That's on the indirect way of remembering all these things somehow. Transportation of goods from a place in India to a place outside. That is the next thing. Transportation of goods by an aircraft from a place outside India up to customs station. From foreign country to India, if goods comes, then it is going to get exempted. From India to foreign country, goods goes. That is also exempted. Transportation of goods by aircraft from a customs station of clearance in India to a place outside India. That is also exempted. Very interesting to note. Look out it. Last entry. Transportation of goods by a vessel from a place in India to a place outside India. Transport can be only 4 ways. Aircraft to vessel to. Aircraft. Place outside India to India, exempted. India to outside India, exempted. Vessel. From a place in India to a place outside India, exempted. From a place outside India to India, taxable. That too, if it is a foreign ship, Indian importer will pay tax under reverse charge on ocean freight. Okay. Transportation of goods by rail. As far as transportation of goods by rail is concerned, selected items, it is going to be your defense material or it is relief material, newspaper, magazine, railway equipment, agricultural produce, milk, salt, food grain, rice, organic manure. Cotton transported in a rail, taxable or exempt. Cotton, raw cotton is transported by rail, taxable or exempt. Raw cotton. Yes, quick. Raw cotton is agricultural produce or not an agricultural produce? I think we discussed once, no? Agricultural produce means what? That's all. I'm sorry, cotton is not an agricultural produce. Panjil agricultural produce. Paruthi da agricultural produce. Okay, the cotton flower. So that's where the difference. So paddy is not an paddy is an agricultural produce. Rice is not an agricultural produce. That is why you will have a rice a specific entry. So again, many pulses are all straight away is not agricultural produce. So these are all the aspects that need to be taken care at a little more detailed level when we take decisions. Again, coffee and all, we have serious issues. Coffee for curing, pre-curing, raw coffee, all this. Followed by toll charges. The complete toll industry is out from the tax net. They are all exempted. Warehousing of your rice is going to be exempted. Not only warehousing, storing, packing, warehousing, loading, unloading, transporting of rice, all are going to be exempted from tax. Similarly, warehousing of forest produce. What do we mean by forest produce, sir? All those items that you get in forest. It could be honey, it could be sandalwood, it could be brack, it could be bones, it could be your haunch, it could be your tusk, it could be your wood oil, it could be resin, it could be fruit, flower. Within the forest, whatever forest produce as per the Indian Forest Act you have based on that. Followed by certain other agricultural produce. Here see specific exemption comes on a particular day. Okay. Prior to that, it would be taxable. Prior to warehousing, this services, of course, it is only for storage or warehousing. Storage, warehousing of cereal, pulses, vegetables, nuts, cotton, tobacco, betel leaf are going to get exempted from levy of GST. Transmission and distribution of electricity is exempted. Nothing great about it. Those are all government-related entity. See, central government or state government provide a guarantee to the public sector undertaking. If BSNL want to borrow 500 crores, who will take care of assurance? Don't be bothered. If something goes wrong also, I will pay. Central government. So what central government will say is, I'll give you 500, see, you borrow 500 crores, your project is correct, we will approve you. I am going to guarantee you, give me 1% of your loan amount as guarantee fee. 500 crores means 5 crores should be given to what? Government as guarantee fee, underwriting fee. Government acts as an underwriter to the respective public sector undertaking. That services provided by government will get exempted. If this exemption is not there, under reverse charge, the BSNL is liable to pay tax under reverse, specifically gets exempted. General insurance services, these insurance and all, nobody will take insurance premium at all. No one will pay insurance premium, no one will take insurance. So coming back here, all are rare insurance, hut insurance, pilot scheme insurance for a seed corporation, followed by agriculture insurance, cattle insurance, failed well pump set insurance, Canara Kano. Failed well pump set insurance. I'm not joking. Actually, this entry has about more than 24 items. Many more. One word will be there in the presentation. Check. 21 exemptions are there. You cannot read all, sir. Then how I can remember? Rashtriya Swasti Bima Yojana. Sir, what do you mean by this, sir? Next slide we'll see. Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana. Vasishta Pension Bima Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Hindi name exempted. இது ஹிந்தி அப்படின்னு உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சா போதும், அவ்வளவு. The moment you know Hindi, then nothing, no Hindi name will be taxable in India. Okay, very clear. Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana, Jan Shri Bima Yojana, the 12 rupee SB account 12 rupee, or all Yojana will be exempted. Generally, all Yojana will be exempted. Wherever this is that SB account linked exemption, or 300 rupees. See, even otherwise, you have an entry number 40, which will come out and say, I'm not sure whether I brought 40. Any time insurance premium paid by government, it will get exempted. You have a blanket exemption. That fellow now went to a different level. Whenever I as government pay money, then it is exempted. So instead of, he thought policy to add one after other. The only difference is earlier entry is talking about general insurance. This entry will talk about life insurance. That is the difference associated with it. But for it, all those services are going to be out from the tax net. Any reinsurance of this is also going to get exempted. So that sums up my discussion. I do agree. If that pace, I went today, I know I never went in my regular pace of Ilayaraja, Kale, la 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 la, abdilla na pola, enak theriyum. Because I have to run at Haris Jayaraj pace. If I run at Haris Jayaraj pace, is only this is possible. Otherwise, this would not be possible. So at this juncture, I think Shankar has joined. We'll do one thing. At this level, I'll hand over the proceeding to Shankar. 1 minute.
Good evening, all. Exemptions. I think from where Ganesh left, I will take up the baton and start moving. Few of the services which are exempted from GST. Few we will discuss from the CGST exemption notification, and towards the end, we will see the IGST related exemptions also. Meaning those exemptions are applicable only for services which are covered under IGST. So this is where we have to be careful not to read only the CGST notifications. Please read the IGST notifications also when you go through, because there could be some transactions which will be attracted only under IGST, may not come under CGST, SGST at all. Now on to this discussion of exemption under notification 12/2017. Services provided by a state government or a state industrial development corporation. What is the type of service that we are looking at is any kind of long-term lease or lease of industrial plots. For example, Sitco in Tamil Nadu is giving the land on lease to a manufacturing company. They are giving it for, let's say, 99 years lease. On that first time payment, it could be called as premium, salami, or development charges, any name by which it is called. The one-time payment which is given at the initial time of taking the lease, that is exempted. The rental, if any, is as per the contract, is paid subsequently. The rental will be subjected to GST, and especially if the recipient is going to be a registered person, it will even come under the situation of reverse charge. Hence, what is exempted here is only the first one-time fee that is paid for obtaining the possession of that land. It is not purchase, it is a lease, could be a long-term lease, typically 30 years or more. Another exemption which we can easily relate to the research institutions like maybe IIT. What they do is the IIT in Chennai or IITs across India, even the IISc, Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore, they go about nurturing projects. For example, if a person has an intelligent thought, but it is only at the thought level, he will not be able to further take it. He requires the commercial acumen to be able to be a successful person. Then such kind of ideas will be taken as incubatees in the incubation center. The terminology of incubator, we would have all heard in a different context. For a premature born baby, it will be kept inside an incubator so that it can naturally sustain by itself. Till the time it is under an incubator, it is kept at an atmosphere as if it is in the mother's womb. When it can sustain by itself, then they will remove it from the incubator. The same logic works here. Till the time the incubatee is able to sustain by itself, the incubatee will be allowed to be under the incubator, but the services by an incubatee are exempted, subject to two conditions. If they are not exceeding 50 lakh rupees of turnover, because if they exceed 50 lakh rupees of turnover, they become quite a sizable entity. And not lesser than 3 years should have lapsed from the date of them becoming an incubator. So you should have spent minimum 3 years, or you should have exceeded 50 lakh rupees to get out of this exemption. If you are within that and your business is run by that incubation center and you are paying, you are doing any services, your services will get exempted. The next services, the healthcare related services, but this is not for our healthcare, it is the co-inhabitants, the animals and birds which are inhabiting this world along with us. Any veterinary clinic relating to healthcare of these animals and birds is exempted. Another interesting part here, it says healthcare. Well, what is healthcare? Because healthcare is something which is given to make you take care of your day in, day out. It is not like a luxurious thing. For example, if a dog is being prepared for a dog show, services relating to that is certainly not healthcare. But whereas it is being treated, then that is healthcare. So this segregation has to be drawn. So there are many peoples, and I come to know that these kind of details, and it is costly also. Some of the vendors, they call them as handlers. They get new kinds of breeds and all. All this, you have to look at it in terms of whether it is healthcare. If it is not healthcare, how much you ever do with animals or birds, it will still become taxable. Only healthcare is becoming exempted here. The other one of the contentious one, is in the notification 13/2017, the reverse charge, where we would have seen that any services received from government is subjected to reverse charge. But when we are receiving services from government, but it is in the nature of registration under any law for the time being in force, whatever fee we pay for getting that registration is exempted. Means there is no reverse charge. The service is exempted. Any testing, calibration, safety check, for example, fire extinguishers, it has to be calibrated every year. Any kind of gas pipelines, the pumps, the rotary equipments which are inside that, they will have to be calibrated to ensure that it is pumping up properly. Those safety checks done by the government, even the emission checking done by the government departments, including the fire license, where they are giving it, these for which we pay money to the government or government entity or the local authority for obtaining these services, we don't have to pay GST and reverse charge because the service per se is exempted. And then any taxable services provided by a technology business incubator. Now, this technology business incubator is something similar to the incubation that we studied earlier, but it is specific to a use of technology. Let's say biotechnology. We have in Chennai itself one biotechnology park where they are able to do that. Any services done by them of an entity which is inside that biotechnology park is considered to be exempted. In terms of services provided by an independent journalist or Press Trust of India or Edited News of India, in terms of collecting or providing news, is exempted. When you see news commonly, you would have seen a lot of mics being flashed in front of the person who is talking. One of those mics will certainly be the black and white mic, which contains UNI or PTI. The Press Trust of India or Edited News of India, who are they? They are actually people who are created by the existing news collection agencies only. They have pulled in money and they have collected it. What is the purpose of this PTI or UNI? They will go and collect all sort of small newses. Have you ever wondered how come every day the Hindu paper comes with 24-page news only? Has it so happened that in India only 24 pages of news have happened today? It is not so. They will prepare all the news from their news correspondents, and once that is over, they will still have some blank spaces. They will immediately call PTI or UNI and ask them for any interesting news which has come yesterday. They would have collected all the news, including a freedom fighter hoisting a flag in one of the streets in, let's say, Chennai. That they would have captured, and they will take it and put it. That is why in news you will see, in some days newspaper, same photos, same wordings will be there in multiple newspapers. That is because the services are taken by the newspaper printing company of PTI or UNI, but that services is exempted. And a person, not a company or not a firm, one person is rendering services as an independent journalist, that is also considered to be exempted. Library services, exempted. How many of us use library? How many of us use lending library? Bigger question mark. So department has also thought a bit in terms of that, and they have said it is not just book library, it can also be any kind of knowledge enhancing content in any kind of media. Because nowadays we are seeing the advent of allowing people to access through the e-materials. Even that is going to get covered under this library services. And they will have to exempt themselves first. This is a mistake they did, and subsequently they inserted this entry. And what is even more interesting is they never inserted this entry in service tax itself. GSTN as a company has been rendering services to the government for implementation of this GST by developing a website. They have started doing it even during service tax regime, but they never paid service tax. In GST they were exempted. Then only they realized we made a mistake. We didn't exempt ourselves in service tax. They made a retrospective exemption in service tax. So it is obvious that the services rendered by the GST network to the central government, state government or union territories are exempted. They cannot be levying tax on their own services. Services by an organizer of an event. This is interesting because any person who is organizing an event, if the event is going to happen in India, GST is certain. But the event is going to happen outside India. So what? It is taxable if it is rendered by a person in India. No, that is where it is interesting. I am a person in Chennai. I am conducting an event in Singapore, and the person participating is coming from Chennai. So the money is received in Chennai for an event to be held in Singapore. It is exempted. Strictly speaking, it is taxable. Hence, they have said, yes, it is taxable, but I'll give you an exemption because the event per se, physically, it is happening outside India. Why should I collect GST? They have given an exemption. They have not kept it away from GST. It is not that place of supply will go away. Because both of us are in India, then obviously it becomes recipient's place. You being a registered person. Hence, they wanted to say that let us do it like this. It is exempted. So even if I am a person from India conducting an event outside India, in respect of anybody who is participating in that event, I can say the service is exempted. Sponsorship services to a sporting event. Appropriate time to discuss because IPL is around the corner. Is IPL a sporting event? Certainly not. IPL is a franchise entertainment. It is not sporting event. Then what is a sporting event? Anything which is recognized as a sporting event is when you are representing your district, your state, your zone, your country, that is when it is considered to be a sporting event. Any kind of such sporting event, when it is being sponsored, the person who is giving the sponsor is generally liable to pay GST under reverse charge. That will get exempted in case of certain such sponsorships, including the Panchayat level Yuva Krida or KL Abhiyan. Under that, whatever services are rendered, that is also considered to be exempted, because that event, let's say they are having a kabaddi match in a Panchayat. That kabaddi match is being sponsored by a local company or a company which is operating locally. Sponsorship services exempted because it is conducted under the Panchayat Yuva Krida or KL Abhiyan scheme. Fumigation services in a warehouse. Later on, we are going to see about the exemptions available if you are dealing in agriculture goods. So what is the exemption that they are bringing here is, the warehouse is not being run by an agriculturist. The warehouse is being run by a warehouse owner. That warehouse owner is allowing only agricultural goods to be stored inside the warehouse, and to keep the warehouse pesticides free, insecticides free, he sprays the pesticides and insecticides to keep the agricultural produce intact without their position being spoiled. That activity is called fumigation, and that activity done by a warehouse keeper on his own warehouse where the agricultural produce are stored is considered to be exempted. So this is an exemption which is an extension. It is not given to an agriculturist. It is given to a warehouse keeper who is maintaining agricultural produce. And now we land on the agricultural services. We can simply take it, any kind of agricultural activity. It is not just growing of crops. It is cultivation of plant, rearing of animals also. But somehow, like Ganesh told you earlier, department does not like AC. If you have AC, they will charge GST, except the metro rail. Same way, they don't like horses. Be it Income Tax Act or GST Act, if you rear horses, they don't like it. They will make it taxable. So even as an animal, they don't encourage horses. You can develop any other animal, rear any other animal, maybe even a dinosaur, if possible. But horse is not allowed. So if you are rearing any animals except horse for food or fiber or raw material, considered to be part of your agricultural extension services. Horticulture, sericulture. In a grand 45-acre land, I have created a small pond, where in that pond I am having certain fish, using it for the purpose of cleaning my pond, as well as using the fishing methodologies also considered to be part of this agricultural operations exempted. Any kind of agricultural extension services done is exempted as long as it is relating directly to agriculture. And renting of agro machinery is also exempted. Tractor taken on hire, sowing machine, reaping machine, all these are taken on hire, considered to be exempted. Any labor services exempted. Loading, unloading, or storage, or packing, or warehousing, or agricultural produce exempted. That is why they went one step ahead and exempted the warehouse keeper itself if he is doing fumigation. And to take it further, any kind of services done as an intermediary to an agriculturist for enabling him sell the product to the customer by anybody who is acting as a commission agent, including the primary agricultural marketing committees, is considered to be exempted. So services relating to agriculture, we can just look at it whether it is coming within the purview of agriculture. If yes, it is getting completely exempted from the purview of GST. Now, the intermediate process of job work relating to cultivation of plants and rearing of all type of animals is considered to be exempted. Only the rearing of animals except horses are also part of this exemption. Any artificial insemination services of any livestock will also get exempted. And then slaughtering of animals is considered to be exempted from GST. Any preconditioning, pre-cooling, waxing or ripening of fruits or vegetables. Best example would be a fruit basket. I'm preparing a fruit basket. Will the fruit basket get exemption? Yes. The fruit basket will get exemption because the fruit basket has not changed the essential characteristics of the fruit or vegetables that are inside. It is only presenting it in a different way. If it is cut and served as salad, taxable. If it is juiced and the juice is given, extraction is given, taxable. But it is given without altering the essential characteristics, considered to be still an agricultural produce. Hence, the service of preconditioning, pre-cooling, ripening, waxing or retail packing or labeling considered to be exempted from GST. any services provided by a foreign diplomatic mission in India, giving visas or any other services that they do in India is considered to be exempted. And religious pilgrimage conducted by a specified organization only is exempted. Who are those specified organizations? So far we have got only two types of religious pilgrimage which are exempted. One is the Hajj, travel to Hajj, conducted by All India Hajj Committee or state level Hajj Committee. If you are going by Cox and Kings, taxable. You should go only through All India Hajj Committee or State Hajj Committee. Similarly, Kailash Manasarovar Yatra. The Kailash Manasarovar Yatra organized by Cox and Kings, Thomas Cook, taxable. If you are going to go by the Kumaon Mandal, which is in Himachal Pradesh, they are organizing the visit to Kailash Manasarovar. You are going through them, the travel, the whole activity of that religious pilgrimage is considered to be exempted. So only two religious pilgrimages are notified so far as exempted. And going further, services provided by way of a central government, state government, or the union territory government, or the local authority, by way of issue of any kind of sovereign documents, which can be issued only by the government, passport, visa, driving license, birth certificate, or death certificate, though they charge a fee for it, it is considered to be exempted. And educational institutions, a critical exemption with respect to educational institutions. Any services done by an educational institution is considered to be exempted. We have to be carefully analyzing this. I think for that, for a moment, I will use the whiteboard. I'm not sure how far I'll be able to easily use it, but still, braving all this, I'll try to use it. Yeah, I've got a whiteboard. And how the educational institution related discussion should be done is, let us look at who's the one who's getting exempted. The one who is getting exempted is the educational institution. This educational institution is exempted in two ways. The services done by an educational institution and services done to an educational institution. Both ways this exemption entry works. A and AA of this entry talks about services done by an educational institution. Any services done by an educational institution to student, faculty, staff is considered to be exempted. Underline the words any services. Any services done by an educational institution to its student, faculty, staff is considered to be exempted. Sir, I'm applying for that educational institution. They are collecting a fees and conducting an entrance examination. Will I come under student, faculty, staff? No. In those cases, they have inserted AA to say that no, not a problem. Any kind of admission related or entrance related services rendered by an educational institution to prospective. 2000 people may write, only 200 people will get, but still that services is considered to be exempted. Services by an educational institution to their student, faculty, staff, exempted. Services by an educational institution given for the purpose of conducting any entrance examination for their own institution or for admission is considered to be exempted. So this is one part of the exemption. Services by an educational institution. On the other hand, services to an educational institution. If somebody is providing services to an educational institution, what are the exemptions? Anybody providing services by way of giving a means of transport for transporting their student, faculty, and staff is considered to be exempted to an educational institution. So when I am X Travels, I am giving my buses to this educational institution for transporting their students, considered to be exempted. And then the next service is anybody providing food and beverage, the catering services to this educational institution is considered to be exempted. And then anyone providing housekeeping or security services to this educational institution is considered to be exempted. And these services are taken by an educational institution for example, CA institutes is conducting examination. It is hiring various spaces in which the examination is conducted. So for the purpose of admission or any kind of examination conducted by the educational institution, if somebody is rendering services, that service is considered to be exempted. And finally, any kind of online content, online, let's say, material or online videos consumed by an educational institution is considered to be exempted. So this is how the exemption generally looks like. I know it is not very clear because my drawing skills is not that good, but I have tried conveying it as I was talking. So I am hoping that you would have got the point. Now I will take it to the next level. Any services by an educational institution, any services to an educational institution we have seen. But what is an educational institution? There are three types of educational institutions that are being contemplated in this notification. What are those three types of educational institutions? One being pre-KG to higher secondary. The other one being, anybody who is able to give a degree recognized under any law for the time being in force. This is the second type of educational institution. The third type of educational institution would be the vocational education institutions. Why am I highlighting these three? Is because these three exemptions, the vehicle, food and beverage, housekeeping or security, these services are exempted only if the education institution happens to be a preschool or higher secondary. Only in that situation, the services rendered to an educational institution is exempted. So, if I am giving my buses on hire to a college, taxable. I have to charge GST to the educational institution. Same way, any kind of this online content, the exemption is applicable only if the recipient is going to be an educational institution who is giving a degree recognized under any law for the time being in force. If it is going to be a school or if it is going to be a vocational institution, maybe they are teaching music, say arts college. I'm not meaning arts and science college. I'm meaning art, where you learn art, or a fine arts college, a sculpting, maybe even a polytechnic. They will come under this vocational. So for them, this exemption doesn't apply. Only for online contents taken by a educational institution, which is giving a degree recognized under law, is considered to be exempted. In all the other cases, it is taxable. So that is how critical this exemption is. Looks like an innocuous exemption which is applicable for all the educational institutions, but then later on they put a restriction that this vehicle, food, housekeeping or security services only if you are going to be giving education up to higher secondary. Beyond higher secondary, all this will become taxable. The only exemption which will persist across all the locations is the exemption of the admission or conduct of any examination. Now, private tuition centers, there is no question at all. Are they giving a degree? Absolutely not. They are completely taxable. There is no question of them giving a degree. They are not giving it. So all that is completely taxable under GST. Somebody is trying seriously to annotate. I'm not sure what you are doing. You are trying to take a screenshot. Don't worry. Anyway, you are going to get the video. Okay. So this is about the educational institution related exemptions. Now we'll go back to our presentation. Slightly neat picture we will see, not my ugly drawing. Services to a recognized sports body by a person in his capacity, individual capacity as a player, referee, umpire, coach, or a manager. Easy to remember. The people who will be on the ground toiling hard is the player. And along with these people, there will be one more person who will be unnecessarily standing on the ground, who is called as umpire or referee, depending upon which game you are playing. Then there will be a person who is sitting beyond the boundary, shouting. He is the coach. Then there will be one person sitting inside the AC room. May not be even watching the match. He is called manager. So any person who is rendering the services to a recognized sports body in his individual capacity as a player, referee, coach, or umpire is considered to be coach or a manager is considered to be exempted. Example: Ravi Shastri takes 8 crore rupees in a year for coaching the Indian team, exempted. Same Ravi Shastri takes 2 crore rupees to coach Mumbai Indians, taxable. because Mumbai Indians is not a recognized sports body. Moving further, any training program, services provided to the central government, state government, or union territory. Tomorrow they ask me and Ganesh to come and train all the officers across India on a bigger project. We go and train. We should not charge GST because it is considered to be exempted, because the recipient of the service being central government, state government, or union territory. Cord blood banks, the one which is developing recently meaning one which is developing in our country recently. But erstwhile, we already know the story of Mahabharata, cord blood bank and all. From that time itself, stem cells are taken. I'm not a science student, so I will not go beyond this. From the mother's umbilical cord, and from there they are storing it, and anytime in future, it can help the kid. So every year they pay a certain amount as rent. In Chennai itself, we have this in the old Mahabalipuram road. I think the bypass road between OMR and the GST road. We have this company where they store this cord blood bank and all. This storage for which we pay a rental is considered to be exempted. There is no need to pay any GST on that services. Healthcare services provided by a clinical establishment or an authorized medical practitioner or a paramedic. So now we come to our healthcare, the physical healthcare of human beings. So the healthcare services provided by any clinical establishment. It could be a polyclinic, or it could even be a multi-specialty, super specialty hospital. Everything is called as a clinical establishment only, whether 1 bed or 1 lakh bed. Clinical establishment, their services, healthcare, exempted. Any authorized medical practitioner, who is an authorized medical practitioner, who is given that authorization to practice that medicine. What are the medicine practices that are allowed in India? The medicinal practices allowed in India, Ayush is our theme in which we can remember it, the allopathy, the English medicine. And then we have Ayurveda, Unani, Yoga, Siddha, Homeopathy, Naturopathy. These are the allowed medical practitioners. Reiki healing, pranic healing, do not come under this. So these medical practices, if you are given the license to practice by the Indian Medical Association, then yes, you are authorized medical practitioner and your services exempted. Paramedics, the people who are not full-fledged medicine practitioners, but who are paramedics. Like in an ambulance, you will always be seeing 2 people. One is a driver, the other one is not a cleaner. The other one is a person who knows how to administer first aid, how to give that emergency recovery and all. So he's called a paramedic. A physiotherapist is a paramedic. You go to a physiotherapist to increase your fitness, he is not a paramedic there. He's a trainer. But after a surgery for rehabilitation, to be able to walk again properly, to be able to bend down, you are taking the help of a physiotherapist, he becomes a paramedic there. Even a dental surgeon is considered to be a paramedic because he is not a full-fledged doctor. Ayurveda is very much within the purview of this medicine. Acupuncture, you'll have to prove whether it comes under any one of this category. Ayush ministry. Then you can say acupuncture can come. Reflexology, foot reflexology, you still have to prove where it comes under. And services provided, anything done by a clinical establishment is exempted, provided it is in healthcare nature. Parking fees in a hospital is still taxable. And services by way of transportation of patient in an ambulance by a person other than a clinical establishment is also exempted, because ambulance are needed. 108 services, many people are giving it on rental. That services is considered to be exempted. Any person who is in the business of treatment of biomedical waste arising out of this clinical establishments, it cannot be just thrown into the garbage. It has to be medically treated to avoid any further diseases spreading out of it. That person who is doing these services is only doing it for the clinical establishment. So his services is also exempted, waste treatment and disposal. And services by an unincorporated body or a not-profit organization by way of reimbursement of charges. The ideal discussion here is pertaining to a housing welfare society or a resident welfare society, where per month amount collected is not exceeding 7,500 rupees per member. Per month per member. We are not collecting anything more than 7,500 rupees. Then it is considered to be exempted. Unincorporated body or not-for-profit organizations will enjoy this exemption. If you collect more than 7,500, it becomes taxable. And for a performance artist, anybody who is performing, what kind of performance? It should be music, dance, theater. And of what? Of folk or classical. Now, when they have not said which folk or which classical, as per the General Classes Act, we have to assume that it is the Indian folk, Indian classical. It is certainly not African folk or Russian classical. Indian folk, Indian classical, music, dance, theatre. How to remember easily? People who know Tamil will be easily able to relate. Iyal isai nadagam. So music, dance or theatre. When they are performing it, that performer is getting an exemption. What kind of exemption? If they are performing as other than a brand ambassador, they should not be brand ambassador of something, some company. They should be performing in their individual capacity, and per performance they are not charging more than 1,50,000. Then their money received is exempted. So this exemption was there in service tax regime also. That time it was 1 lakh. Now it is enhanced to 1,50,000. The only purpose this exemption achieved was, earlier if it is going to be a kacheri by one senior singer, he or she will collect 2,50,000 rupees from the Sabha. Now what they have started doing is, they will collect only 1,50,000 and they will ask the Sabha to pay the violinist separately, to pay the Mridangam person separately. So that individually none of them will exceed 1,50,000. All of them will enjoy this exemption. And admission to any museum or park, national park, let's say the Gir forest or the National Ted Corbett National Park, any entry into this without any amount limit is considered to be exempted. And any archaeological sites, protected monuments, any entry into it, the entry tickets are exempted. And training or coaching in recreational services relating to art or culture or relating to sports by a charitable entity registered under section 12AA. So sports, there was a compulsion that it should be a charitable entity registered under 12AA. So Ashwin or Sadagopan Ramesh giving training without being a charitable entity is taxable. Arts or culture, even if you are not a charitable entity, you are giving training in recreational activity is considered to be exempted. There is still a huge question mark, because how do I know the person who is coming for learning is coming for recreation or is going to take it as a profession? They don't want to pay much attention to that. So the exemption is still availed at large. Admission to any circus or drama or any kind of event where the consideration for the ticket is not more than rupees 500, then only this exemption persists. So if you are going to charge more than 500 rupees per person as the entry fee, there is no exemption, it will become taxable. And admission to any events organized by FIFA, World Cup 2017, this exemption is no more because the World Cup of 2017 is long gone. Recently, they wanted to have this Under 17 Women's World Cup in India. It was introduced very recently. This Women World Cup, the admission ticket is also exempted. Organization of that event, anybody is rendering services for the purpose of organizing that event in India, that is also considered to be exempted as long as they are rendering services for this FIFA Under 19 Women's World Cup. So I think most of the services covered under the normal exemptions are done. Now we will look at the services which are pertaining only for IGST related exemption. The first one would be the services rendered by a person in India and this person in the outside India person are part of the same entity. The best example would be an Indian branch rendering services to a US head office. Will it be export of service? No, because you are part of the same establishment. So it cannot be export of service. So it will become taxable. So the government has given this exemption under entry number 10F in the notification 9/2017 of IGST, saying that you are not distinct, you are not different persons, you are distinct person of the same entity. Then the services rendered shall become exempted. It cannot be zero rated, it is only exempted. And any import of services by the United Nations or any specified international organizations in India, they are importing any services, it is considered to be exempted as long as it is for official use. And then any foreign diplomatic mission sitting in India imports any services. US Embassy in India is importing the services from outside India, considered to be exempted. And intermediary services, section 13 subsection 8, place of supply, where the intermediary is sitting in India, it will become taxable. This exemption notification helped them, entry number 12AA, saying that if the intermediary is sitting in India and he is connecting two people, both of them are outside India. If one of them is in India, then there is no exemption. Both of them are outside India and the intermediary is able to collect the documents and maintain it for 5 years for organizing the transaction. What is the type of transaction? It should be goods only, not for services. It should be goods and that goods he should be able to collect the bill of lading, contract note, the debit note, the certificate of origin, and the declaration letter that he has acted as an intermediary only. These documents he is able to generate, obtain, maintain it for 5 years, then he can claim his services to be exempted. Again, it is not zero rated, it is only exempted. So ITC is not there, refund cannot be claimed. And services done, received by Reserve Bank of India from outside India in relation to I have been sharing the screen and using that only. So I'm not sure if you are not able to see the screen or you are able to see the screen. Services received by Reserve Bank of India from outside India in relation to only only maintenance of their foreign exchange management, that is considered to be exempted. In all the other cases, it becomes completely taxable. Even in the case of RBI, they are liable to pay GST under reverse charge. Only the services that they take for the purpose of management of their forex is considered to be exempted. And then the interesting exemption, which was introduced in service tax itself, continued in GST, is a tour operator is providing services to whom? To a person who is holding a foreign passport, that is to a foreign tourist. Okay, foreign tourist, if he is getting a tour in India, is it exempted? Certainly not. The service should be provided by a tour operator in India, and it should be provided to a foreign tourist, and it should be for a tour which is conducted wholly outside India. Not a single leg of the transaction should happen in India. Only if this is ensured, the exemption is given. So a tour operator sitting in India billing for anybody who is leaving India to go outside India, taxable. Anybody who is coming from outside India to visit India for their services, taxable. A tour operator sitting in India should organize a tour, let's say from Malaysia to Singapore to come back to Singapore, and for that tour, none of the Indian passport holders should have participated. Then only the exemption is applicable. That is how they have skillfully worded it. Tour operator rendering services to a foreign tourist in relation to a tour completely conducted outside India is only exempted. And that pretty much brings us to the end of all the important exemptions, especially in services, which we should be aware of when we are discussing or dealing with any kind of services or services related taxability in GST. And that also brings us to the end of this 15-day long course